I'm John Skinner, and this supports my online flounder fishing course at saltstrong.com/Skinner. And I'll have links to all of the gear in the description of the video. All right, I'm back on one of my local ocean bays, and by that I mean where I'm facing there, that piece of land is a barrier island. The ocean is on the other side. You see a bridge there over to the barrier island, and I don't know, maybe a mile and a half or so, maybe a little farther from where I am in the direction I'm facing is an inlet. And I've got incoming water, so that nice clean ocean water is pouring into the bays. And this is the upper part of incoming water. It's a great time to fish because you get that cleaner, somewhat cooler ocean water coming in. And yeah, I'm just really happy about the quality of the fishing this summer in the bay. The previous 2 summers were not very good at all, but it's turned around this summer. It's been quite good, and yeah, it's been building. The last 2 trips were better and better, so couldn't wait to get right back out here and try it again. All right, that fish hit a Gulp Sandeel, and the sand eels are really moving nicely into the bay. The previous kayak trip you saw I was using Gulp shrimp a lot, but I've switched over to sand eels because the sand eels are moving in, and part of the way you can tell that, and you'll hear it on and off during this video, are the terns, those little seabirds diving, hitting the water, and they're picking up bait. So basically I'm matching the hatch, and just a sand eel on a 3.0 Gamakatsu bait holder hook, and yeah, you know what? This is 3 minutes into the trip, and boy, I've got a keeper on here. I'm laughing because, yeah, the keeper ratio is not very good. It might be 1 in 10. So to get one so quickly, I was pretty happy. So yeah, this is 4 minutes into the trip, and I've got 2 fish, and one's a keeper. So yeah, this is looking just great. I'm taking a mark there. Yeah, I don't have any marks in this area. I actually have a mark a little farther back that I pulled off of Google Earth. Yeah, this water is only, the area I'm fishing is like 4 feet to 10 feet deep. So when it's clean and they do the satellite imagery, you can see the detail pretty well. So I do have a mark that's maybe a half a mile behind me, but I've got a nice setup that I'm taking this incoming current and drifting down towards that mark, and looking good so far. And what I'm looking for with Google Earth are basically edges. You know, with shallow water like this, the sandbars show up very clearly, and then the darker areas are obviously deeper water, and it's just a matter of you know, looking at the structure. It's very easy to read from the satellite imagery, and you mouse over, you get the GPS mark, stick it in your unit, and you've got a nice starting point when you go out. The other thing that's helping me out a lot is finally, this is the first year I'm on the bay with prescription polarized glasses. I've got Salt Life glasses, and yeah, you can just read the water so easily. You can see the bars, everything shows up. You look under the water, you can see bottom very often. In fact, we're going to get to see that at some point, even without the polarized glasses, 'cause I'm going to get in pretty shallow. All right, so what's with these gloves? A few years ago when I fished in Florida, I made sure that I had good sun protective clothing, and one of the things I did was wear gloves, and somehow those gloves got misplaced. And you know, I always put the sunscreen on top of my hands, and the other day I reached into a Gulp bucket to grab some Gulp, and as my hand came out, I saw I left a little slick in there. I said, all right, that's it, because I'm getting sunscreen in the Gulp, and I don't like that idea. So I went and I got a new pair of sun gloves, and I really like these because they've got a little bit of grip on the inside, and they're very comfortable. Yeah, I can't say enough about the importance of sun protection. You know, melanoma is a dangerous thing, and if you notice, I always have long sleeve shirts on. You know, these are Bimini Bay makes nice protective sun clothes, and many companies, and you see I've got the long pants on. All this stuff is really comfortable. So I'm going to have some links to some of that gear in the video description. The neck buff is another thing. It's just great, very comfortable, keeps the sun off your neck. So I'll have some links to that because you know what, I've gone through having basal cell things cut off of me and Mohs surgery and all that, and that's no fun. I'd like to avoid that in the future. Boy, it's like almost every fish is hitting the sand eel, which is unusual for me. I think probably I run about 55% of my fluke are on the teaser, so just a little more than half. And when people say to me, I get all my fish on the teaser, I always say, well, then, you know, you need to take a closer look at your bucktail. Maybe it's too heavy or something, but I know it's not too heavy. This is a 3/4 ounce. I know it's the right weight. I've got a Gulp Nemesis on that bottom jig. Everything looks good, but I think that sand eel just might be looking a little better because that's what they're feeding on, and it's just a really good imitation. Yeah, so I think this is about my 4th trip in the Hobie for Fluke. Yeah, and I can't keep my feet off the pedals. I love being able to just tweak the drift or the angle of the boat a little bit. Wow, it's just so nice. I mean, even if you've got a wind coming at you, you can kind of knock it down by doing that. If the drift is slow, I like to throw it in reverse and backpedal a little bit. Yep, I don't know how I fished before without a pedal drive, and you know, being able to move the boat, make little adjustments like I am now, and have the hands free for fishing. Yeah, it really is wonderful. Well, when fishing shallow like this, these fish, especially the smaller ones, they come up green and they are hard to get a hold of. That's why I even appreciate these gloves a little bit more, because I find it's just a little bit easier to grip them. Yeah, when they're slimy and when they're thrashing around, it's hard to get a grip. And yeah, certainly with these rigs, I need to be careful. Everybody needs to be careful when you've got 2 hooks on there, because if you're not careful, you could definitely get that second hook in your hand, and that would definitely be bad. You know, a great thing about fishing this way, besides it being so productive, is that, you know what, easily 90% of these fish need to be released because they're too small. And I still see some people dragging bait, and even in, you know, putting a rod in a rod holder, that leads to so many gut hooked fish. So the nice thing about this, these are lip hooked almost every single time. It's very rare that you're going to deep hook a fish when you're setting the hook so quickly like this. You know, you feel a little bit of weight, bury the hook, boom. And yeah, I think it's definitely a lot better on the fish, especially when so many of them have to go back. All right, here's the first sea robin of the trip, which is pretty good because I've got a lot of fluke and not too many sea robins. All right, I got a damp rag there. Yep, I know I could lip them. I think this is better. Just immobilize them, get that hook out, push them back in. It's going to be fine. Those spikes and spines and everything else, yeah, you don't want those in your hand. All right, a little downside of these sand eels, they're kind of soft. Even though they don't tear, what's happening is after a few fish, they just don't really stay on the hook because they're kind of torn up inside. So one thing I found that's a really close alternative that is surprisingly holding up, you know, I've said many times that the Gulp Nemesis, they tear easily. Well, they do with sea bass and stuff around, but if you use a 4.5-inch Nemesis for this fishing, and I've got that on the bottom, and I've occasionally been putting it on the teaser hook, they hold up better. These fluke don't tend to rip those tails, and the bodies themselves hold up like they're firmer or something. But yeah, that's the one downside of the sand eels. They're a little bit soft, but otherwise they're a tremendous bait. So what you saw there was my first drift. That was just a drift. So that was really a great action. I tried to repeat, or I did repeat that drift, and it wasn't as good as the first one. So I went back to the spot that I had marked using Google Earth, and I'm pretty close to it right now. And this is a cool sequence. This water's real shallow. You're going to see when I lift the rod, you're going to see the rig. Also, if you kind of look towards the lower left-hand corner of the screen, especially in a second, you're going to start to see the bottom. And I'm only in 4 to 5 feet, very shallow. Just started the drift. I think I just changed a camera battery, so I'm messing with my camera bag. But yeah, if you look over the side, you're going to be able to see bottom, and watch carefully when it looks like I'm there. So there's my rig. Watch, there's the bottom, very clear. I can see it now. It's going to look like I'm kind of getting stuck on the bottom. That's what it felt. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck. Oh no, there it is, right there. I can see the fish under the water, and it's a really good one. So that's a great bait fish, and that is going to be the shallowest fish I catch on this trip. That was really neat. I was so shocked when I looked down, and I just thought I was caught on something, and I saw the fish. So, all right, yeah, I'm going to keep some fish. I want a meal here, and that's a Canyon cooler bag. Works great. I've used it to go out to the reef, spend hours out there, really pack it with ice and fish, and holds a lot. They make a bunch of different sizes. I'll have a link to that in the video description. Oh, this is going to be another one of those times where I want to make a slight adjustment on the drift, and going to leave my line in, and yeah, it's going to pay off. So I'm just curious if that one's a keeper, and I really like these. This is a Berkeley ruler, and it's nice because you can just push the nose of the fish right up against the thing. That's what it's designed to do, and just reads very easily. So I just took a glance. And obviously that fish was about a half an inch short, and the legal limit for us is 19 inches. The annoying squeak you're going to hear is, again, my tip is loose, and by the time I'm narrating this, I've fixed this permanently. It's not going to happen again. But for whatever reason, the ferrule cement I was using just wasn't holding. It's all good now, but that's what that is. There was a little twist on the tip, and that was wrapped on the rod, and that's why it was making that noise. So my drift speed is starting to slow. I'm getting towards the change in current. When I first started, that first drift where I had all those fish, I was running 1.2, 1.4. I was actually taking advantage of that faster drift where the bay is narrower to get down to where I was planning to spend most of my fishing time. I figured, instead of just pedaling, I might as well take the drift, and that paid off well because I caught a lot of fish that drift and had a keeper. But it's slowed up now, and it's more like 0.7, 0.8. Hey, did you see that fish right when I lifted it? There was a fish right there, and this is shallow. It's like 8 feet. Water's pretty clear, still incoming water. So now I've got him, and then as a second fish took a swipe. So what I'm doing here is just trying to drop down, see if I can get that second fish, but it did not work. Good. Much like you would throw a boat in reverse at the beginning of a drift to stop the forward motion, I just find myself doing the same thing with the kayak. This is right up on the beginning of the drift, probably 7 feet of water. that's keeper number 3, and you can see the wind's picking up, and it's actually in the same direction as the current, because the current has just changed. So I've got pretty slow outgoing current, breeze going in the same direction. That's just an absolutely perfect setup. Gonna have a nice drift here. All right, I'm going to leave you with one more nice fish. And yeah, if you haven't checked it out, I would encourage you to check out the online fluke fishing course at saltstrong.com/Skinner. And again, all of the gear, including the sun clothes, I have links to all of that in the video description. All right, if you like these videos, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Oh. Well, I knew that one right from the hook set. Damn.